So The Intercept has new reporting about this guy named Daniel Hale. And he was just recently sentenced to 45 months in prison because he leaked some information and documents about the U.S. military's drone program and the severe civilian cost of that. So, the details. Let me click over to the next tab. So, this is a continuation by the Biden administration, from the Trump administration, and from the Obama administration, starting with Edward Snowden and Julian Assange, WikiLeaks, and then Edward Snowden with the NSA spying situation, how they are abusing the Espionage Act. The Espionage Act is supposed to be used to combat spies. Okay, that's what the Espionage Act is supposed to be used for, spies. That's when you take, I don't know if you know this, federal government, but an espionage, or being a spy, is when you take secrets from one government and you give it to an adversary government, or an opponent government, or an evil government, right? So if this Daniel Hale guy took our classified information about the drones and he gave that information to the Russian government or to the Chinese or, some other adversary that we have, that would be treason, and you can charge him with the Espionage Act and all this sort of stuff. But what he did was he leaked the information to journalists, which then put it into the public forum, or the public square, if you will. That is not a crime. I don't care who you are or what ideology you are. That is not a crime, in my view. It's not. Edward Snowden did not commit a crime. Julian Assange did not commit a crime. They did not commit espionage. Okay? Plain and simple. So, there's that. But, so, Hale testified in Virginia, and he recalled his own experience. I'm reading from The Intercept now. He called his own experience locating targets for American drone strikes. He says, by some estimates, U.S. drone operations abroad, conducted by both the military and the CIA, have killed between 9,000 and 17,000 people since 2004, and as many as 2,200 children and multiple U.S. citizens. Those estimates, however, undercut the true cost of remote American warfare. Hale noted in his letter to the court, the U.S. military has a practice of labeling all individuals killed in such operations as, quote, enemies killed in action unless proven otherwise. So here's a guy who is a former U.S. Air Force intelligence analyst, okay, took these documents, gave them to journalists because he felt that the United States was in the wrong, and he needed to right that wrong morally and for his own conscience. He says in this article that, let me get his exact quote here. Here it is. He says, quote, with drone warfare, sometimes 9 out of 10 people killed are innocent. You have to kill a part of your conscience to do your job. I mean, he just goes into detail about how the drone warfare needs to either stop, or we need to get better intelligence before we launch a drone attack, because clearly too many innocent lives are being lost. At what cost? At what cost? Taxpayer money, U.S. civilian lives, not civilian, U.S. military lives, and the civilian lives of those overseas. And here is the most egregious quote from a member of the United States government, Assistant U.S. Attorney General Gordon Kromberg. He argues that, this is from The Intercept, in Hale's case, in fact, deserved a harsher sentence. So they were trying to get him sentenced to 11 years, but he ended up the judge dropped it to 45 months. And this Attorney General disagrees. He says he deserved a harsher sentence other than the prior whistleblower cases on the basis that, unlike in those cases, it was difficult to it was difficult to what harm the disclosures had actually done. So in other whistleblower cases like, Edward Snowden, or that's the biggest one that comes to mind, or there was one that the U.S. military was involved in, sexual assault or something like that. So he is saying Hale deserves a harsher sentence because, quote, "We do not know whether this information already has been or will be used by future terrorists or other foreign adversaries. What we can be sure of is that Hale's actions risked damage to the safety and security of Americans in the past and will continue to do so in the future." That statement makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. Please tell me how this will impact the safety of Americans. Please tell me how detailing the fact that 9 out of 10 people killed in drone strikes are innocent and civilians, how that is a danger to me right now. How is this information going to be used by terrorist groups to harm the United States? Are there terrorist groups out there that want to harm the United States and want to destroy the West as we know it, the quote West as we know it? Yes. And should we keep an eye on those folks? And should we not allow them to come into the country? Sure, 110%. But tell me how this information somehow makes them stronger as a regime. Tell me how detailing the fact that close to 17,000 innocent people, by some estimates, probably an undercut estimate if you ask me, how is that information going to help any sort of terrorist organization? Other than them just hating us even more. But how is that legitimately going to impact my safety and my family's safety? Okay? It's not. This is the military-industrial complex trying to cover its ass because it got caught just literally from a computer desk at the Pentagon dropping bombs on innocent people. They got caught. And a U.S. intelligence analyst working for the Air Force, that guy who served his country, guy who joined the military, okay, a patriot, he decides to speak out and he gets sentenced to over 2 years in prison. It makes me fucking sick.